Right, Ross, next up we have one of my favourite brands, I suppose, favourite blends. So this is from Compass Box, who are whiskey blenders. They're not independent bottlers, really, but they sort of source casks from different places, blend them all together and create delicious whiskey, basically, is what they do.
And they've been able to do all their own brands, these blended malts, these characteristics and consistent products for the last 25 years this year. So they've been going since 2000. The spice tree I've never actually had before.
Okay.
But I've done a wee bit of research. I know there's some French oak involved. And what's really refreshing about Compass Box, they're incredibly transparent.
Yeah, they've got in trouble a little bit by being too transparent and saying, this is 13% diluent or whatever.
So that's they kind of break this down. This is a blended malt we're having, and some of it you can clearly see they're not able to name. So I think at least 60% of it was Highland malt blend with custom French oak casks. Then there's also some bourbon Glenmurray. And some Balmenic in this as well. Nice. So Glenmurray and Balmenic, even then, not the biggest names in Speyside, but distilleries that we're familiar with a lot of Highland malt in there as well.
Yeah, I think the thing I like with Compass Box is, apart from the transparency, they tend to push boundaries as well. So they used to have a bottling called Oak Cross, where they basically took a cask and then decided to put extra staves in it. More wood interaction, it'll make it age differently as like an experiment. And then the Scotch Whisky Association didn't have a rule for that at the time. So they're like, we think we don't like it. So they introduced a rule and it's now outlawed.
All right. Well, they've done it well.
Yeah, they're creative,
so
they're experimental.
Yeah. I remember seeing the Peat Monster. Which has, again, amazing illustrations. It's got a really cool illustration on the front. And the Spaniard.
Story of the Spaniard.
Which was a really, really cool looking bottle as well. So I'm looking forward to trying this. I guess it makes sense that the spice tree, we're anticipating a spicy whiskey.
Yeah, in terms of strength,
bottled at 46%.
46, so it's not relying purely on that alcohol strength to give it that kick, which is...
I guess they're talking about using heavily charred French oak. Virgin oak does bring some spice. French virgin oak is used in Scotch whisky a lot now. And the Highland malt, is that, we kind of agree that the whole regions isn't really that important anymore. But maybe the thought is having over 50% Highland malt is going to give it that spicy character as well, depending where they got it from.
Yeah, I think it's always worth having a close look at the label as well. Because Compass Box, it's not just always blended Scotch. It's not always a mixture of malt and grain. So Hedonism, for example, one of my all-time classic whiskies, is a blended grain, which you don't see very often at all.
Pure vanilla.
Oh, it's delicious. Absolutely stunning.
I think I've had even old versions of that as well. Which has been really cool. And also for a blender, only 25 years ago is very new. But also they made so much noise, I think, in the whiskey drinking scene.
Yeah, I think they've definitely inspired, the likes of Woven and Turntable and all these guys who in 2020 onwards are trying to make blends cool. Compass Box were the
first to do it.
Trailblazers in that regard. Held in very, very high esteem. I've heard good thing. I've tried it once. I remember it being my favourite at the time.
The spice tree.
Yeah. I think that was a time where pretty much all I drank was sherried single malts. So I think that worked well with my palate because it had a bit more complexity to it. So I'm hoping I'm not disappointed by this. But it's
natural colour, non-chill filtered.
Blended malt, 46%. Ticks a lot of boxes.
So they're London-based as well. I think London-based blenders, right?
Yes. And they were... Who were they taken? They were taken over by Campari for a bit. And then Campari now sold them on to somebody else.
Nice.
So they've sort of changed hands a few times. But the quality's always been good.
All right. And the nose is sweet. It's not very spicy at all on the nose, actually. Initially,
quite subdued on the nose. It's certainly not ginger and nutmeg and like big spice on the nose for me.
I guess it could be, some cinnamon or something underlying, but you're right, there isn't. I expected a big punch of baking spices.
You'd have to go looking for it, I think. That smells very, very nice. Let's try.
Oh,
yeah, that's very nice.
Yeah, me too. I think it needs the strength that it's at. I actually really like it at that strength. And again, the front of the palate, light, fresh, and sweet. And in the back of the palate, you're starting to get more of that rich.
Yeah, maybe a touch of like dark chocolate, maybe a slight kind of citrusiness to it as well. But it's
really interesting whiskey.
Yeah, I think it's great. I like that a lot. I think like we've tried a few whiskies recently which have been 40% and probably a similar style to this, and at that bare minimum strength, it very easily slips into that like wet cardboard, flat, disappointing thing. But with this 46%, it's lovely. It's got complexity to it. It's got that sweetness to it, which you don't lose from the nose. I think it's
and I would say
very nice.
Sometimes when I try whiskey that is spicy, it's because it's too high in alcohol and I need to add water to it.
Yeah.
But it is the flavour in the back of the palate, which is a pleasant, warming oak spice that I really like. It's not what I thought it was going to be. It's actually much more approachable than I thought the spice tree would be. I think
it's maybe a misleading name.
Well, Peat Monster's always scared me off, but that's not because I'm afraid of monsters, because I'm afraid of peat. But this is like really approachable and lots of different layers to it. And so I suppose because they've been making the spice tree since 2005, obviously the cask makeup will change as well. So this is something you could get a bottle of this year, and in 2 years' time get it again. It will be different.
Their website, actually, I remember looking up hedonism before, and it was amazing because they've got each batch, maybe like 25 different batches, and they've got a full makeup of each one.
That's amazing.
So sometimes it's slightly more, Cameron Bridge, sometimes it's slightly more Invergordon, whatever, but it's so precise and so detailed. I think this is a stunningly consistent dram.
Really impressed by Compass Box. And what you told me about Compass Box as well. Seem like good guys in whiskey, quite cool, worth trying to push the boat and see what they can do.
Yeah.
And that whiskey was an absolute delight.
Yeah.
I need to try some hedonism by the sounds of it.
Hedonism will,
I think I've tried one of the old ones once, and then now I'm interested actually in going and trying some of the older batches of these two. Although I'm sure they're sought after. Cheers. Thanks for sharing.
Cheers.
If you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe for more Bevvy content. We want to hear what you think, your best whiskey experiences, the whiskies you want us to try. It's a really exciting journey we're on, so make sure to join us. Download the Bevvy app on Google Play and App Store to keep track of your whiskey journey, connect with your whiskey friends, keep track of your favourites, anything you could ever want to do with whiskey, all in one place. It's the definitive whiskey companion.